Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? All right, let's get back to Iraq, shall we? There are some decisions made by their Supreme Court that is, causing a lot of tension over there in Iraq. For those of you who are unaware, Kurdistan split off and decided to be their own people back in 2005. And it looks like this current government is doing all they can to bring them back into the folds. We'll get into that more here in just a moment. Another thing that came up that I think is interesting is a lot of people were asking me about Mike Contrell, talking about that Mr. C over there with Mark Z. But I don't know. Did he say something? You guys let me know down in the comments. Was something said? Why are so many people now asking me about this individual? Very interesting. I don't know. Maybe we'll get him on my show and let him explain to you who he is. We'll see. Anyways, let's get into this, shall we? Before we get started, do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. If you're not a subscriber, please do so, because when you do, it helps out the channel, and I certainly do appreciate it. If you're thinking about buying gold and silver, head on over to our friends at Miles Franklin. The link will be down below in the description. When you make your purchase, make sure you use promo code Pimpy, P-I-M-P-Y, and they'll take care of you. If you have any additional questions, you can reach us over here at this phone number or over here at this particular email. For all orders over $10,000, reach out by email and we'll make sure that you get a great deal. So come on over to Miles Franklin and add to your precious metal inventory. Sudanese personalizes notes on U.S. sanctions. We will not abandon private banking sector, nor should they. So the Prime Minister al-Sudani confirmed the existence of observations on U.S. Treasury sanctions on Iraq banks, while noting the government's continued support for the private banking sector. Al-Sudani said in a press conference, the government has made an important way by making Iraq's trade clear despite the challenges that appear from time to time. He added that all our trade passes today through the electronic platform and through the audit of the K2. That is, there are notaries of financial transfer operations. With decisions come from the U.S. Treasury on Iraq's banks, which we have more than one observation on, and decisions related to the observations on the performance of the banks in previous governments, not the current government. The Prime Minister stressed that the transactions and financial transfers from Iraq's trade during the current period passed through the clear electronic platform in front of financial institutions, so the process has gained reliability. Al-Sudani explained that the government continues to support the private banking sector and it cannot be abandoned, and we are working to address all the observations in its performance, and we are doing it to be a partner with us for the desired development process in our country. So this was one of the biggest hurdles that people were concerned about, is that Iraq would have a hard time going over to this new system because the way they were doing it in the past, they can get away with a lot of corruption. The whole purpose of the reforms were to allow Iraq to get through the World Trade Organization so they could start trading with partners around the world. One of the reforms that was necessary was banking. But like I said, there was a lot of resistance there because, you have Maliki and a couple of other partners. They own banks and they make millions of dollars doing some real illegal things through those banks, especially transferring money over to Iran that they're not supposed to have, US dollars I'm talking about. The text of the federal decision obligating the Kurdistan government to deliver all oil and other imports to Baghdad. If you remember correctly, when they first made this decision telling Kurdistan to turn everything over, Barzani said that's something they would fight to the death for. They're not going to turn it over. So here we are all this time later, and the Supreme Court is still telling Kurdistan to turn over all control over the oil to Baghdad. Within its decision today on the Kurdistan region, the federal Supreme Court has obligated the chairman of the Council of Ministries of the territory to hand over all of its oil and non-oil revenues to the federal government. The second defendant is obligated to head the Council of Ministers of the region to hand over all of its oils and non-oil revenues to the federal government, the state treasury, and according to the federal financial management law provided by the Federal Office of Supervisions, in coordination with the Bureau of Supervision in the region, audits the bank accounts open to the region within the Central Bank of Iraq, and audits the list of employees, retirees, beneficiaries, and social welfare networks. So it appears to me that Baghdad is trying to centralize everything and bring Kurdistan back into the Iraqi folds. I think a lot of this has to do with the fact that Kurdistan does not want the U.S. to leave. They've been speaking out about it. Although the Baghdad's government wants to have the United States and the coalition leave Iraq as soon as possible, and they've been in negotiations about that, Kurdistan keeps asking them to stay. And as long as Kurdistan's asking them to stay, that's going to be their excuse to stay. I think this is why you're seeing a lot of pressure now coming from the Supreme Court. A tug-of-war over autonomy. Iraq's Supreme Court challenges Kurdish election law. This is going to make things worse. The delicate balance of power between Kurdistan regional government and Baghdad has once again come under scrutiny. A recent ruling by the Iraq Supreme Court calling into question the constitutionality of the KRG's election law, particularly its minority quota system, has ignited a complex debate about federalism, autonomy, and minority rights within Iraq. At the heart of the contention lies the age-old struggle for power and representation, a narrative all too familiar in the region's tumultuous history. So the ruling and its ripple effect here. The Supreme Court's decision mandates the oversight of the KRG's parliamentary election by Iraq's Independent High Election Commission. This move, while seemingly procedural, has far-reaching implications on the Kurdistan region's autonomy and the representation of minority groups within its parliament. Yeah, exactly. So this is the coordinated framework really trying to grab full control of the parliament without having to go through any hurdles. The Kurdistan Democratic Party, a dominant force in Kurdish politics, has vocally criticized the ruling. They argued it undermines the principles of federalism enshrined in the country's constitution and infringes upon Kurdistan's rights to manage its internal affairs, including elections. So Baghdad wants to oversee the elections happening in Kurdistan. In other words, rig it, and Kurdistan ain't having it. The judicial intervention has not only exacerbated the long-standing tensions between Kurdistan region and Baghdad, but has also highlighted the internal division within the Kurdish political landscape itself. The dominance of the KDP and its rivalry with the Patriotic Union of Kurdistan adds another layer of complexity to the situation, raising questions about the future of Kurdish autonomy and governance. So let me see if I remember this right. The Patriotic Union of Kurdistan, I think, is a socialist group. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they are. But the PUK are the people that Turkey's constantly bombing. They actually have them listed, I believe, as terrorists. Concerns for minority representation. One of the most immediate concerns arising from the court's ruling is the potential impact on minority representation in the KRG's parliament. The challenged election law's minority quota has seen by many as a crucial mechanism for ensuring the voices of the smaller, often marginalized groups were heard. Critics of the ruling fear that without these protections, minority communities, including Christians, may find themselves further excluded from political process and decision-making. Right now, the Christians are being squeezed out of Iraq in a big way, to the point where they can't stand what's going on, and there seems to be a mass exodus of Christians leaving Iraq at the moment. The debate over minority quotas and election oversight speaks to the broader issues of inclusion and rights within not just the Kurdish region, but Iraq as a whole. As the country continues to navigate its post-conflict reconstruction, the question is how to build a political system that accommodates its diverse population remains pressing. So remember, I spoke about this. The problem with Iraq is you have all these political sectors. You have all these religious sectors. You have all these tribal sectors. Trying to get everybody on the same page after they've been battling each other for, thousands of years. Trying to get them all on the same page is going to be very hard to do. It would take almost a miracle. And it doesn't help that the people that are in political power have been the same group of people now since, 2003? When the first elections, 2003, 2004, when the first elections took place. It's the same group of people. All they're doing is rotating the positions. And these are that group of Iranian-backed politicians. Between autonomy and unity, the tension between the desire for Kurdish autonomy and the central government's efforts to assert control over it is not new. Since the enshrinement of Kurdish self-rule in 2005, both sides have navigated a fragile coexistence, marked by periods of cooperation and conflict. The recent court ruling, however, threatens to tip this balance, challenging the foundation of Kurdish governance and, by extension, the region's stability. Observers note that resolving the internal Kurdish conflict and the broader dispute with Baghdad is crucial for maintaining a Kurdistan regional influence and avoiding potential dissolution. That would piss off a lot of people. You would see a potential, I don't know what Kurdistan has to really protect themselves military-wise, because it wouldn't take very much for Iran to get over there and help Baghdad kick Kurdistan's ass. And then you'd see the United States get involved real quick. That's a bad situation, but hopefully things get settled here. The stakes are high, not just for the Kurdish region, but for Iraq as a whole. At a time when the country is striving to move beyond its sectarian and ethnic divisions, decisions like those of the Supreme Court serve as a reminder of the delicate and often contentious process of building a shared future. It's kind of hard also when the head of the coordinated framework, Maliki, is very close friends with the head of the Supreme Court. It just doesn't look good. It looks very political. The evolving dynamics between the KRG and Baghdad, set against a backdrop of internal Kurdish divisions and regional influences, underscores a complex tapestry of politics in Iraq. As the country continues to grapple with these issues, the path to a more inclusive and stable political order remains fraught with challenges. Yet it is within these very challenges that opportunity for a dialogue, reconciliation, and ultimately progress may lie. I don't think anybody's going to forget the fact that Maliki literally tried to be the next Saddam Hussein and centralize all his power and take over the country. They're not going to forget that his generals were pissed off. Maliki told them to stand down and allow ISIS into the country. People aren't going to forget that kind of crap, man. They just aren't. I don't know how smooth this is going to be. We'll keep an eye on it. We know that Iraq continues to move forward, making great strides. But these things right here that keep popping up have the potential to be dynamite, if you get my drift. Anyways, that's it for now. Look forward to your comments, and I will catch you later. I'm out.